Hey guys, in this month's Historical Fiction 101, I'm going to be sharing with you some recommendations of books that involve Edgar Allan Poe. So, it's the month of October, the Halloween season, so I wanted to do a special Historical Fiction 101 video. Something kind of spooky, terrifying a little bit, maybe not, because some of these books that I'm about to recommend, they're not really scary or anything. But yeah, the particular theme I wanted to do was Edgar Allan Poe centric. I freaking adore Edgar Allan Poe. He was a very interesting, complex man. So yeah, I managed to find 12 books that feature Edgar Allan Poe in some way, and yeah, some of the books, as I mentioned, they're not necessarily scary. They're not thrillers or mysteries. Some of them are just, standard historical fiction. But yeah, Edgar Allan Poe does feature in there some way. So let me get going. As I said, I have 12 books to share with you, and I'm also going to be reading off of the Goodreads synopsises for these books. So if you want to check these books out, head over to Goodreads. First up, Mrs. Poe by Lynn O'Colin, and I love this book. Yeah, guys, it's straight up Edgar Allan Poe fan fiction. It makes Edgar Allan Poe pretty hot, and if you've seen that man's photo, he's not really an attractive man. Just saying. So yeah, this is just straight up Edgar Allan Poe fan fiction, making him into this sex icon, which I don't know, I was kind of digging it. But yeah, that's either going to be for you or not, but still. What is Mrs. Poe about? It is 1845 and Frances Osgood is desperately trying to make a living as a writer in New York, not an easy task for a woman, especially one with 2 children and a philandering portrait painter as her husband. As Frances tries to sell her work, she finds that editors are only interested in writing similar to that of the new renegade literary sensation Edgar Allan Poe, whose poem, The Raven, has struck a public nerve. She meets the handsome and mysterious Poe at a literary party, and the two have an immediate connection. Poe wants Frances to meet with his wife, since she claims to be an admirer of her poems, and Frances is curious to see the woman whom Edgar married. As Frances spends more and more time with the intriguing couple, her intense attraction for Edgar brings her into dangerous territory, and Mrs. Poe, who acts like an innocent child, is actually more manipulative and threatening than she appears. As Frances and Edgar's passionate affair escalates, Frances must decide whether she can walk away before it's too late. Ooh, like I said, I love this book. It might not be for everybody, but I loved it. The Pale Blue Eye by Lois Bayard. At West Point Academy in 1830, the calm of an October evening is shattered by the discovery of a young cadet's body swinging from a rope. The next morning, an even greater horror comes to light. Someone has removed the dead man's heart. Augustus Landor, who acquired some renown in his years as a New York City police detective, is called in to discreetly investigate. It's a baffling case Landor must pursue in secret, for the scandal could do irreparable damage to the fledgling institution. But he finds help from an unexpected ally, a moody young cadet with a penchant for drink, 2 volumes of poetry to his name, and a murky past that changes from telling to telling. The strange and haunted Southerner poet for whom Landor develops a fatherly affection is named Edgar Allan Poe. I definitely gotta get this book, you guys. It sounds really, really good. The Poe Shadow by Matthew Pearl. This is a book that I have read in the past, and I tell you what, it's been a very, very long time since I read this book. When was it published? It was published way back in 2006, because I think I did read it back in 2006. So yeah, it's been a long time, and I honestly can't remember too much of what happens in this book. I think I need to reread it at some point. So yeah, Baltimore, 1849. The body of Edgar Allan Poe has been buried in an unmarked grave. The public, the press, and even Poe's own family and friends accept the conclusion that Poe was a second-rate writer who met a disgraceful end as a drunkard. Everyone, in fact, seems to believe this except a young Baltimore lawyer named Quentin Clark, an ardent admirer who puts his own career and reputation at risk in a passionate crusade to salvage Poe's. As Quentin explores the puzzling circumstances of Poe's demise, he discovers that the writer's last days are riddled with unanswered questions the police are possibly willfully ignoring. Just when Poe's death seems destined to remain a mystery and forever sealing his ignominy, inspiration strikes Quentin in the form of Poe's own stories. The young attorney realizes that he must find the one person who can solve the strange case of Poe's death, the real-life model for Poe's brilliant fictional detective character. See Auguste Dupin, the hero of ingenious tales of crime and detection. In short order, Quentin finds himself enmeshed in sinister machinations involving political agents, a female assassin, the corrupt Baltimore slave trade, and the lost secrets of Poe's final hours. With his own future hanging in the balance, Quentin Clark must turn master investigator himself to unchain his now imperiled fate from that of Poe's. Ooh, I just remember really liking this book, because it is, even though Poe himself is not really in it, it still involves Poe because of his very strange, mysterious death and whatnot. The Raven's Bride by Lenore Hart. When 8-year-old Virginia Sissy Clem meets her handsome cousin Edgar Allan Poe, he seems the very image of the make-believe husband she conjures up in her childhood games. He's 13 years her elder, but kind, soft-spoken, brooding, and handsome. Eddie floats in and out of her life as he fails his way through West Point and then the Army. Each time he returns to Baltimore, their odd friendship grows and her understanding of the moody, troubled writer deepens. As Sissy prepares for a career on the musical stage, her childhood crush turns to love. When she is 13, good God, this is a strange event in Edgar Allan Poe's life, you guys, because he did marry his 13-year-old cousin, just saying. When she is 13, Eddie proposes marriage, swearing to care for her forever, yet even child brides eventually grow up, and it's really Eddie who needs caring for, who leans on her. She gains his complete devotion, true, yet also must endure his abrupt disappearances, strange moods, and the aftermath of alcoholic binges. Then, when she falls ill, Poe's greatest fear that he'll once again lose a woman he loves drives him both to near madness and to his greatest literary achievement. Okay, so yeah, this is kind of like kind of his inspiration for some of his short stories that he makes, because his cousin, who he does marry, she does die very young, and yeah, if you've read Poe, he always is constantly writing about beautiful young women who die young and whatnot. Not sure how I feel about this book. It sounds good, but I don't know. Yeah, it sounds good. On Night's Shore by Randall Silvis, and this is book 1 in the Edgar Allan Poe series. I think there's about 2 or 3 books in this series. Standing on the grimy banks of the Hudson River, street urchin Augie Dupins spots a young woman tossing her baby into the water, then jump in herself. As the only witness to the tragedy, Augie sees an opportunity to make a few pennies recounting the events, and in doing so encounters a struggling young journalist named Edgar Allan Poe, a poet and newspaper hack whose penchant for saying the wrong thing at the wrong time has earned him more than a few enemies. When the unlikely duo discover the body of yet another young woman shortly after, they become entrapped in a mire of murder, greed, power that stretches from the 5 Point slums to the gleaming heights of Fifth Avenue. Oh, this sounds kind of cool. Murder Mysteries with Edgar Allan Poe. Edgar Allan Poe and the London Monster, and this is book 1 in the Poe and Dupin Mystery series by Karen Lee Street. Summer 1840, Edgar Allan Poe sails from Philadelphia to London to meet his friend, C. Auguste Dupin, with the hope that the great detective will help him solve a family mystery, for Poe has inherited a mahogany box containing a collection of letters allegedly written by his grandparents, Elizabeth and Henry Arnold. The Arnolds were actors who struggled to make a living on the London stage, but the mysterious letters suggest that the couple had a more clandestine and nefarious lifestyle, stalking well-to-do young women at night to slice their clothing. Oh my God. I'm still not reading this correct. Poe hopes to prove the missives forgeries. Dupin wonders if perhaps they are real, but their content fantasy. Soon, Poe is being stalked by someone who knows far more about his grandparents and their crimes than he does. And then he remembers disturbing attacks made upon him as a child in London. Could the perpetrators be connected? Oh my God, I kind of love this, you guys. I gotta hunt this one down. The Telltale Heart by Monica Shaughnessy, and this is book 1 in the Katarina Mysteries series, and this sounds really cute, you guys. Philadelphia, 1842. Poe's cat, Katarina, I didn't even know the man had a cat, you guys, becomes embroiled in a killer's affairs when she finds a clue to the crime, a glass eye, but it's only when her beloved Eddie takes an interest that she decides to hunt down the madman. Her dangerous expedition takes her from creepy Eastern State Penitentiary to Rittenhouse Square, where she runs into a gang of feral cats intent on stopping her. As the mystery pulls Katarina deeper into trouble, even Eddie becomes the target of suspicion. Yet she cannot give up the chase. Both her reputation as a huntress and her friend's happiness are at stake. For if she succeeds in catching the glass-eye killer, the missing pieces of Eddie's unfinished story will fall into place, and the Poe household will once again experience peace. Full of Victorian witticisms and rich detail, this cozy mystery is a fictional account of Edgar Allan Poe's real-life animal companion. And it's like kind of this origin story to the Telltale Heart, I guess. Okay, so yeah, Edgar Allan Poe definitely did have a real cat, I guess, named Katarina, but obviously she didn't really go on murder mysteries. But I like that little detail. It's cute. This sounds freaking adorable. I gotta find this too. Of Monsters and Madness. Book 1 in the Of Monsters and Madness series by Jessica Verde. Summoned to her father's Philadelphia house in 1826 after her mother's death, 17-year-old Annabelle Lee, that should sound familiar if you love Edgar Allan Poe, Annabelle Lee's whole life is about to change. Here she can't wear pants and practice medicine like she used to in Siam. The new city she's supposed to call home is full of dark secrets and strange curiosities, a world she has trouble navigating, until she meets her father's assistants. There is Alan, darkly handsome and gentle-natured. He dabbles in writing stories when he's not helping with medical advancements in her father's laboratory. And Edgar, who bears an uncanny resemblance to Alan, but is everything Alan is not. Cruel, selfish, and determined to see his own gruesome fantasies brought to life. When her brilliant but reckless father's scientific experiments rapidly morph into morbid obsession, a terrible truth is revealed. Edgar and Alan are two halves of the same person, and Annabelle quickly finds that her own attempts to cure Alan of his affliction are becoming as morally questionable as her father's. But nothing can prepare her for the lengths she'll have to go to when her father is kidnapped by the dangerous and mysterious Dorian Gray. How the hell did Dorian Gray wind up in this plot? This was a plot twist right there. Oh my god, freaking Dorian Gray. Let me start over. I got so distracted with Dorian Gray's name popping up here. Let me start over. But nothing can prepare her for the lengths she'll have to go to when her father is kidnapped by the dangerous, mysterious freaking Dorian Gray in his relentless pursuit for the ultimate scientific breakthrough, eternal life. To hunt for a monster, Annabelle will need a monster, and she is forced to unite with Edgar to save her father, the man responsible for creating them both. This is all sorts of weird, you guys, but it's kind of great. The Raven's Tale by Kat Winters, and this is a book that I got around to, I believe it was last year in 2020. I personally did not really like this book that much. I was actually very, very disappointed with it, but I'm going to include it on this list because there are reviews on Goodreads, and there's a lot of people who really just freaking love this book. So yeah, it wasn't for me, but it could be for you. 17-year-old Edgar Poe counts down the days until he can escape his foster family, the wealthy Allens of Richmond, Virginia. He hungers for his upcoming life as a student at the prestigious new university almost as much as he longs to marry his beloved Elmira Roster. However, on the brink of his departure, all his plans go awry when a macabre muse named Lenore appears to him. Muses are frightful creatures that lead artists down a path of ruin and disgrace, and no respectable person could possibly understand or accept them. But Lenore steps out of the shadows with one request: let them see me. Like I said, I was very, very disappointed with this book, but hey, it has a nice cover. Ashes on the Waves by Mary Lindsay. Liam McGregor is cursed, haunted by the walls of fantastical bean cheese? I think like banshees. I think that's supposed to be like banshees. This is like the Irish kind of spelling of that, and labeled a demon by the villagers. Liam has accepted that things will never get better for him until a wealthy heiress named Annabelle Layton, I guess Annabelle Lee, arrives on the island, and Liam's fate is changed forever. With Anna, Liam finally finds the happiness he has always been denied, but the violent mythical otherworlders who inhabit the island and the sea around it have other plans. They make a wager on the couple's love, testing its strength through a series of cruel obstacles. But the tragedies draw Liam and Anna even closer. Frustrated, the creatures put the couple through one last trial, and this time it's not only their love that's in danger of being destroyed. And yeah, it says here that this is based on Poe's Annabel Lee. So yeah, Poe himself is not in this book, but yeah, it is a historical fiction book. At least I think this is a historical fiction book. It's like the cover has a historical fiction look to it, but over here on Goodreads, even on like the tags on the side, it says nothing about historical fiction, but I'm kind of assuming this is historical fiction of some sort. But yeah, if you love Annabel Lee, you might like this kind of imaginative retelling. And this next book here is also an imaginative retelling, and this is Mask of the Red Death by Bethany Griffin, and this is actually a duology. A devastating plague has decimated the population, and those who are left live in fear of catching it as the city crumbles around them. So what does Araby Worth have to live for? Nights in the debauchery club, beautiful dresses, glittery makeup, and tantalizing ways to forget it all. But in the depths of the club, in the depths of her own despair, Araby will find more than oblivion. She will find Will, the terribly handsome proprietor of the club, and Elliot, the wickedly smart aristocrat. Neither is what he seems. Both have secrets. Everyone does. And Araby may find not just something to live for, but something to fight for, no matter what it costs her. And once again, this is another imaginative retelling by Bethany Griffin, and this is The Fall. And I have read this, and I kind of had some mixed feelings about this one. Let's see. Madeline Usher is doomed. She has spent her life fighting fate, and she thought she was succeeding until she woke up in a coffin. Ushers die young. Ushers are cursed. Ushers can never leave their house. A house that haunts and is haunted. A house that almost seems to have a mind of its own. Madeline's life is revealed through short bursts of memory, has hinged around her desperate plan to escape, to save herself and her brother. Her only chance lies in destroying the house. In the end, can Madeline keep her own sanity and bring the house down? The Fall is a literary, psychological thriller reimagining Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher. And yeah, The Fall of the House of Usher is one of my favorites when it comes to Poe, you guys. So yeah, I was pretty kind of disappointed with this book, because it kind of wasn't really what I was wanting or expecting, but it was fine. So yeah, once again, people on Goodreads, there's the people who hate it, but the people who really love it and give it like 5 stars. So you guys, that is it for my recommendations for Edgar Allan Poe, whether that's him actually appearing in the book or some books that have like some sort of retelling factor to it and whatnot. So you guys, are there any books like this that feature either Poe or it's a retelling? And it doesn't have to be historical fiction necessarily, because all the books in this were historical fiction, so yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be historical fiction. But yeah, are there any other Poe books or retellings of that, that feature Poe's stories? Just let me know so I can maybe go check those out. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.